Well, g'day listeners. Welcome to Barkarati, the sailing podcast. As I normally say, another week has gone. It's been a busy week. It has been quite crazy, actually. I'm kind of fired up about this little episode. It's going to be a cracker. My name is Jordan Spencer, and joining me is my good buddy, Mr. Brett Perry.
Greetings, exalted one.
Greetings.
Dear.
It's even better on a Monday morning, 6 a.m. Monday morning because of our time frames, and it still makes me laugh. Hey, I'm stoked. I've got some technology advancements here. Finally, technology's landed in Sydney, Australia. I have 5G internet. I'm on fire. I'm clear as a day.
That's good.
What did you say? I couldn't hear.
Yes, no stuttering from me because I can't hear myself and I'm sort of delayed.
No, it's good, BP. It's going to make a difference. We're super happy that Sydney's finally caught up.
I tell you, I don't think it was Sydney. I think the way these companies run themselves these days, they run their call centres and no one knows what's going on. You know, they just sort of run you along a path and then get you off, and next you're on. Finally, one guy worked out that my router was the issue after all that. But anyway, all good.
All right, cool. Well, we better bring in our other colleague. Well, just before I do that, I'll just, I'm trying a little bit of an experiment, so we'll bring in our little other colleague. What was his name again?
You set me up. You set me up again.
Nick Bice, welcome.
Fuck. I'm going to have to walk into every bloody bar with a helium beer in my hand. But I must say, shalom, my friends.
Shalom.
I'm in Israel, sitting in a hotel room, which I must say is the air conditioning is on, and it is as cold as a witch's tit in this bloody joint. I tell you, I've got everything on I own.
Right.
How cold? How cold?
Well, I'll tell you how cold it is. It's as cold as a frog in a frozen pool.
How cold?
How cold?
It's as cold as the end of an Eskimo's tool. Look,
Speaking of tools.
Look, no. I would love to say, but it's not my own gear. That's care of the great outboard manufacturer's brother, Evan Rood, his brother being Rodney Rood. And Jay, mate, you know me. We've been on tour for a couple of years now. And if I get an idea, I'll run with it. So I was just thinking of Rodney Rood this afternoon. And to tell you the whole the truth, I was meant to be doing a bit of work, which advances us. But I went down this rabbit warren and I was watching Rodney Rood YouTube videos for the next 2 hours. I was,
We're in trouble, BP. We're in trouble.
That is some funny stuff. So, but moving on. I'm in Israel. I've got some fun facts. Israel fun facts.
Okay.
Israel, the only country in the world that has more trees today than it had 50 years ago.
Oh, because it had none 50 years ago. It's got one now.
they all got taken out. Israel has more museums per capita than any other country, including the world's only underwater museum. Voicemail technology was developed in Israel. And Jordan, this is one for you.
Yes.
Another fun fact is Israel work is Sunday to Thursday.
Don't we know it?
We certainly know that. Our work is Monday to Friday.
Oh, hang on.
But what? No. So I tell the Israelis I work the Israel calendar, and the non-Israelis I tell the opposite. So essentially, I get a 3-day weekend. What are you doing with your time?
I was just thinking I had yesterday afternoon off for the first time in however. So I don't know. I'm always logged on. I'm pretty certain you're always logged on.
You're going the wrong way.
You're always logged on, mate. You never stop.
Yeah. Okay.
7 days.
Yeah. Let's kick her in the guts.
All right. Well, you're in Israel. BP's in Sydney. I'm in Japan. Konnichiwa, my friends.
Konnichiwa.
And we've got a special guest joining us from the UK. So we are pretty much covering the whole globe at the moment. We're spanning everywhere. So just by way of introduction, bringing in our special guest, we did notice this week that everything happening on the water almost, particularly in the Northern Hemisphere, is shorthanded. Everyone doing offshore stuff is shorthanded. We've got races with one person, we've got races with two people, and a race with three people. So everything is shorthanded. So we thought we'd try and make a little bit of a theme of that. So we're going offshore. We want to have somebody with expertise in going offshore. We want to talk Olympics. We want to talk all the events going on. And we want to have a bit of a laugh. So we thought, let's get Hannah Diamond on. Pommy sailor. And, shouldn't say Pommy, I'll get in trouble.
Pommy. Where are you now in Japan hanging out with the Japs?
Yeah. Oh,
come on, mate.
Yeah, I know. Well, I did that on the World Sailing Games. I was doing the commentary for that. Every time I saw the Japanese sailor, there's the Jap sailor, and I just go, I can't say that. In my ear straight away, can't say Jap. Sorry. It's a way of endearing ourselves. It's the Aussie way. So anyway, let's bring Hannah in because she's sitting there going, when do I start talking?
Yes.
So welcome, Hannah. It's good to have you.
Thank you very much for having me. It's great to be here, and it's pretty hard not to laugh during that last couple of minutes. So
I was going to say that's probably the rarest introduction you'll ever get.
We'll go with it.
Oh, wow. Well, it's exciting. So just for those who have not met Hannah, a UK-based sailor, campaigned for the Rio Olympics in the NACRA 17, did the Volvo Ocean Race as part of Vestas 11th Hour Racing, and won the match racing, the Midsummer Cup, I think it was called, the inaugural Midsummer Cup, which was the first ever event where in the match racing where it's completely male and female combination. So won that with Ian Williams. Pretty successful career. And the other thing I think I'd just like to point out is I can't actually remember seeing you in a photo, Hannah, where you haven't got a smile on your face.
I'm sure if you dig hard enough, you can find some. Definitely some of the Volvo ones. I'm not sure if it was a smile or a grimace.
Oh, well, anyway, so we just there's a sort of brief bio. I'm sure there's a million more things to add to that. So we want to just talk about you and find out about. So let's just roll straight into the Volvo, seeing you said you might have grimaced a few times. We actually, guys, I just noticed we've had a little bit of a run on Vestas 11th Hour crew. What's going on there? Is it
you're right.
We better cut that down. Like, we've got to go. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know. We didn't do that on purpose, just so you know. But how was the Volvo?
That's true. That's why.
It's a great crew. Who was the worst on that crew?
Sorry, say again.
Who was the worst on that crew?
I couldn't possibly tell you.
Charlie's still at sea at the moment, so he's not going to hear this for at least 24 hours. So
he's
take it out on him.
No, I reckon we were really lucky to have the people we had, and I'm not just saying that to kind of spin a line. It was just amazing to sail with all those people who'd done the race so many times before. So the whole experience was a bit crazy, but a lot of fun, and really, really happy that I had that experience and had the opportunity to be involved in such an incredible race.
So that's
Hannah,
code. That's code for Phil Harmer.
Can I throw in one of the probably a question that should have come at the end of the interview, but would have you rather have done it as you have right now, or won the race and everyone arseholes?
Oh,
100% do it the way that I did it, for sure.
Absolutely. Good answer.
100%.
You've nailed it.
It's about the experience, the journey.
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
So how did it come about, actually?
How did it come about?
Yeah, the Volvo for you. How did that come about? Everyone's always wondering how you get on the race. How did it come about?
It was actually a really chance situation that got me onto that particular team. I went to St. Bart's to do the Voile de Saint-Barth in 2017, and knew a couple of people, but not so many. I didn't been in big boat racing for about 12 months out of Olympic sailing, and I was introduced to Charlie Enright out there, and a couple of people who I knew from Olympic sailing very well introduced me to him, and they were looking for someone to trial to join the team, and they had a transatlantic happening 3 weeks later. And basically on the back of a conversation and a couple of recommendations of people, he was like, if you can sort yourself a visa to come to Newport in 3 weeks, then come and do this transatlantic, and that'll be your trial to make the team. So very much down to chance in that respect, but obviously did enough to show them I might have known what I was doing over the 10 days it took us to get to Gosport.
Wow, that's a cool story. Was it always in your sort of plan to do the Volvo, Hannah?
No, not at all.
There you go.
I actually grew up in Warsash, so near Hamble, like much more of a keelboat scene than a dinghy racing scene. So I was very much the odd one out in the place where I grew up in terms of my sailing being very different to other people's. And if I'm really honest, big boat sailing kind of scared me. I knew that the loads were so high, and I didn't really see myself being able to specialize in anything in particular. And then when I lost the trials for Rio, I was just looking for a bit of a different direction and got sucked into the world of big boats. And I haven't actually sailed a dinghy since 2016. And it's all just kind of been back to back. And I knew that the rule of the female crew and being under 30 at the time was a once in a lifetime opportunity. And I just thought there's no better way that I can expose myself to such a big challenge and to sail with the most incredible sailors there are in the world than putting myself forward for that. So just kind of went for it, and I was really lucky that it paid off.
Yeah, it is a fair challenge.
Yeah, I didn't kind of know what I was stepping into necessarily. I'd followed the race a lot when I was growing up, but I never thought it was something that I'd be able to do or in a position to be able to do either.
Well, that's quite a good question. It leads into, you said you didn't know what you were getting into. Can you tell me off the top of your head what was the most, scariest moment in the race, if you like?
Well, we had a few on Festus 11th hour, but definitely the leg from Auckland to Issachar, like the atmosphere in Auckland was so different to any of the stopovers I'd been to. And we obviously hadn't done the leg from Hong Kong down to Auckland. So we'd all been at home back with our families for a few weeks, came back into the Volvo circus, really. And I just kind of knew before we even left that that leg was a little bit different. And being probably 7 or 8 days into that leg, and the conditions were just so relentless, looking around at everyone else in my boat thinking, is everyone else all right with this? Because I'm finding this kind of hard. And trying to judge on people's faces where they were at, just how hard we were going to push. And we were still a long way from Cape Horn at that point. So that was definitely the hardest bit for me, just knowing whether we were going to be all right to make it round with pushing the boat as hard as we were. But I was pretty happy to have some really experienced guys on board as well to help with that.
Yeah, I'm sure that helps. But it's one of those things, isn't it? Once you're out there, you're out there. You've got no choice anyway, so you just got to deal with it.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And going back to the thing about the crew, like it's at that point all about the people around you. So
I was just going to say you had a pretty phenomenal bunch of people on that boat too, actually. Yeah, I was just running the crew list in my head as you were talking about going across that Southern Ocean, and I was thinking, yeah, you're not with a bad group of guys there. I'm just seeing Tony Mutta standing at the back of the boat, just smiling away as everything's turning to hell around you. He'd be happy as a pig in poo, that bloke, through all that, I would have imagined.
Yeah, it's incredible to see how some of the guys are just kind of come into their own. The harder it gets, the colder it is, the windier it is, the more horrible the sailing is. Sometimes the sea state is just not easy. It's so exhausting. You're driving, you're not getting out of your kit, you don't have time to eat properly. And the harder it gets, the more they seem to excel. And that was really kind of inspiring to be around. Those true, Volvo old timers, they really kind of stepped up in those conditions. And that was just amazing to be part of.
Yeah, very cool. And then I guess just not to labour too much on that Volvo, you said before that you were doing the Olympic campaign, which was in the NACRA 17 with Ben Saxton from memory. Tell us about the old... Well, I'm not sure if we should actually talk about the boat, the NACRA 17, because you guys know my view on that boat. But tell us about your little campaign. So how you decided to go for the 17 and how it all went. So the Olympics is obviously a big deal for you as well.
Yeah, so the Olympics was something I kind of, since I was 10 years old and the Sydney Olympics were on, had set my heart on. So all the time I was growing up, that was where I wanted to go, and I kind of set all of my childhood towards trying to make it to the Olympics. And I did 2 years with Ben Saxton, and then I switched to sail with John Gimpson for the last 2 years of that campaign.
Right.
And it was a real baptism of fire to learn how to sail a new boat. I'd been helming before then, and I jumped straight into crewing in the NACRA. And it's just a lot to learn to try and become the best in the world in a boat that no one knows. So it's pretty interesting now to look back and think how much of a different sailor I am, and the lessons that I've learned since then, and how I do things differently. But it's kind of a bit of an apprenticeship, I guess, doing your first Olympic campaign, I suppose.
Well, to be honest, every day sailing is a learning lesson, isn't it? And so we all look back every day and think, oh, if I went back and did everything now, knowing what I know now, that's the great joy of our sport. You never quite master it. So that's why we love it, I suspect. Let's talk about the 17. Was it a difficult boat to sail? Was it fun? Was it exciting? Or were you fearing for your life the whole time?
I think the first couple of months were pretty challenging. I guess with all new boats, when you start sailing them, especially with dinghies, you feel like you need to be really heavy. Just there's so much power. But then as soon as you learn how to sail the boat, the weight of the class comes down as you become more refined and you learn how to control the power a bit better. The foils definitely were a bit of a challenge because there's some big pitch poles, and then also we were like launching out of the water without any control of the rudders. So that was really difficult to understand and learn because it wasn't something that really anyone knew that much about. And then in the end, it was just really awesome close racing. I really enjoyed it, and if I could go back now to the point where I decided to sail that class, I definitely wouldn't have made a different decision.
Yep. Well, I was just thinking of that footage we had. I'm trying to remember who it was. With that footage we put up on our Facebook page.
Oh, and that when the Americans,
the Americans,
New Zealand, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Who went flying around.
That is the greatest.
I've got one question, maybe just even going back when you made that decision that you wanted to sail in the Olympics. Who actually gave that inspiration?
So I don't necessarily remember this moment so much, but I've been told the story so many times. So obviously, what's the time difference between the UK and Sydney? Obviously now you can watch TV any time of day and you can rewind things. But when the sailing was on TV in the UK, it would only be for like a really special moment. So they showed the last race of the Sydney Olympics with Ben Ainsley. It's a bit of a kind of classic. It's not. And
Robert Scheidt. Yeah.
Well, yeah. And that was shown live on TV. So I made my whole family get up in the middle of the night and watch it with me because I didn't want to watch it on my own. And just seeing that moment kind of set something within me that I knew that's where I wanted to go. And then from there, I was an Oppie sailor at the time, so I was really, really young. I was a pretty determined young kid and knew that's where I wanted to go. And I don't know, still haven't quite got there. So maybe one day.
Maybe one day, indeed.
Jordan?
Yes?
I think that leads you into your next question.
Yeah, so what are you doing right at this moment? Let's talk about that.
Well, so with the introduction of the new double-handed offshore Olympic class, that's obviously pretty exciting to me and a pretty nice route back into Olympic sailing, which I came out of. The last few years have been a bit of a whirlwind, to be honest, and not at all the way that I saw my late 20s going, and only in a positive way. But I see the class as a nice kind of route back to where I came from, and hopefully to achieve some of the goals that I didn't quite make in 2016.
Well, I love the fact that this is what I think this is what sort of motivated, apart from knowing you, motivated the call to have a chat is because you and Henry, so you're doing your campaign with Henry Bombi, you and Henry sort of got onto this straight away. As soon as that two-handed offshore event was announced, it almost looked like you've formed that team the next day, basically. You guys were straight onto it.
Yeah, so the big thing with Olympic campaigning, I think, is that time runs out so quickly, and shorthanded sailing is not something I've done a lot of. So while on one hand I think I'm in a good position because I've picked up relevant skills from all of the sailing I've done, on the other hand, sailing double-handed is actually sailing single-handed with someone sleeping. Yeah. So I've got a huge amount to learn if I want to. I don't just want to go to the Olympics. I want to be in a position to win a gold medal, and that's sometimes a very different thing to just being a participant. So I know that I really need to upskill, and that's one of the main reasons that kind of starting early appealed to me. And yeah, I think time's something you can never get back, and the countdown has already started to Paris 2024.
Yeah. And you've got a sort of natural advantage. One, of course, you've been offshore and you sailed with some of the best offshore sailors. So you would have learnt a few things there. From memory, he did a bit of Figaro work. I think he's probably done 3 or 4 years in the Figaro. I hope I'm right there. And then, let's be honest, the Olympic course is really, between France and where you live in the UK. So you'll be able to almost sail just across the channel and sail in those waters and get plenty of practice just to make sure that you know exactly what you're going. So you're extremely well paced. So jumping onto it straight away is a great move.
Yeah, hopefully. I think the race will actually be from Marseille, so a little further than Mediterranean sailing in the middle of summer is going to be quite difficult. So definitely getting a handle on the venue is going to be something that's key over the next 4.5 years, 5 years, which seems, when you say it like that, is a really long time. But when you break that down into all of the qualification that you have to do on the way, actually the time you get to spend down there is quite limited. So again, that's another reason why just trying to get ahead of the game. And I think it's really going to be about chasing the French. So there's going to be a lot of work to do for sure.
In saying that, Hannah, of course, we've heard of the different, and that'll be actually, well, we might as well talk about it now, but what boat is going to be used and how you take advantage. And I mean, we have our news, but do you have any inside information as to where and how and when the boat's going to be announced?
I don't. And the reason I don't is because I think until it's all finalised, I don't really want to get too involved in the politics and the discussions of it, because I don't feel like I can have any influence. And until, it's really all signed off, I hope that they make a good decision, because I think that can really make or break the class and change whether it has any longevity or not. But I think that is a decision that can really change the way that this discipline is perceived by people and is enjoyed by the sailors that take part in it.
What do you think the right decision would be?
Well, I think if they want to have the numbers of boats that they want to have at some of the events, they need to have a builder which can produce quality built boats. Coming from the NACRA 17, where we had massive problems with the boats being very different from one builder, you can only imagine how much more complex those problems are going to be when you have a keel boat. And so I just think it is going to be a really difficult decision for them to choose a boat which fits all of the criteria, and they're able to make enough of them that are exactly the same. But I think that's going to basically make or break the discipline at the end of the day.
You should sail in Volvo Ocean 65s then.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Pretty closely matched boats.
Are they going to make another 32 of them then?
Yeah.
No.
I know a few people.
Yeah.
Sounds like they need a boatyard, Bicey.
Well, I was going to let you lead on to that one. Being the commercial manager. No?
It does sound like they need a boatyard. That would probably be the best possible play. We'll actually talk a little bit about the boats more in detail in a sec. I do want to actually throw a few ideas actually on what they should make sure that the boats can do into this. But just talk about Henry. How did that partnership come up?
So at the beginning of this year, he approached me and just asked. So he had a project to do the Fastnet with the loan of a Sunfast 3300, which was just being launched at the time in the UK. And the owner of that boat he just bought a Class 40, so he wasn't able to do the Fastnet, but he wanted the boat to sail anyway. And so he kindly loaned us the boat for the event, and we were able to kind of optimize it the way we wanted to for IRC for the race. And that was our kind of first little project, which was a great starting point. We only got the boat a couple of weeks before the Fastnet, and then had a pretty good race for that. And then just kind of off the back of that, it's kind of kept going since then.
Yeah, you got second from memory in that sort of the boat turns up and away you went. So with that experience together, are you two staying together in this campaign?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of stuff to think about over the winter. I think, like, with not knowing what the boat is, we obviously need to work out whether we're going to be the right size. I don't think there's going to be enough funding to be full-time. Next year, we're both going to have to do other things, other kind of work and sailing. So it's going to be really difficult at this stage to commit to that full-time. So it's a bit of trying to upscale and learn the lessons that need to be learned while not wasting time and money on things that can be done a bit later, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's just ask on the funding side, how does the funding work for going the Olympics at this early stage? Is there an allocation from the UK Olympic sailing team, or
is it actually this early?
So our Olympic funding is allocated in Olympic cycles, and I don't know how that works in any other countries, but the money that's been allocated to the British sailing team for Tokyo 2020 can only be allocated to events for that Olympic cycle. So at the moment, there's no funding from our federation, so it would have to be privately funded. So that adds another challenge really to it, which was expected. That's not unexpected at all, which is why the next 10 months will be quite difficult. And then hopefully after that, there'll be a little bit more funding available from the federation.
Who do you have helping from that side, if you don't mind asking? You don't have to.
We were really lucky over the summer was supported by Leighton, who have got their Class 40 in the TJV at the moment. So that was really good. And they've obviously got a big project on with some other classes. And yeah, it's just going to be about trying to look. And it was really interesting actually to see, we spent a lot of time in France over the autumn, just doing some delivery sailing on a Figaro 3. Which was an awesome learning opportunity, even though it wasn't racing. But the sponsorship opportunities over there are so different to they are here. But it was quite nice to learn some lessons on how to present your project to people and try and find some money, because they definitely have got it nailed over there compared to how we do in the UK.
They do love a good yachting race, the old Frenchies. All right, so, well, I wouldn't mind sort of going a little bit further in depth. On our run sheet, we're going to talk about sort of the double-handed offshore sailing type of boats and the ideas. I've just got this thought that sort of popped into my head late last night, boys, is we need to make the Olympics relatable. So going offshore double-handed is challenging. A lot of people are starting to do the offshore. So here in Australia, Hannah, I don't know if you know, but most of the ocean races never had a double-handed class. It was a sort of standalone event, but now the Blue Water Series in New South Wales, they've all added double-handed offshore divisions, which BP is just aching to talk about because he wants to control. He wants to set the template. He wants to set the template so Australia doesn't stuff it up. Is that fair, BP?
Well, that's a pretty big call. I think the big thing is that we're in sync, or we're aligned to what's going on in the UK and in France. I mean, it happens so often in Australia, and you can all back it up. That we tend to stand alone in our own different boats, and I think that's going to, that needs to be thought about. And it needs to be thought about really early in the piece. But I think people like Matty Allen and those guys are all over it. They're doing a lot of stuff with Europe. I don't think that's going to be an issue. The biggest thing we've got is making sure that whatever is chosen, that class is supported. And you've got a lot of guys going out there doing this double-handed stuff at the moment on their own boats. I can tell you it's a mixed range of boats, and it's creating a class. But moving forward, if double-handed sailing in Australia is going to succeed to the next level, it needs to be, sort of treated like an actual division, proper division, and one that's focused on the games. And that's sort of what all I'm hoping happens, which I'm pretty sure it will.
Jeez, you finished, mate?
Yeah. He's
passionate about it. I love it. Don't give him a hard time.
No. I'm only joking.
No.
And we know, actually, we need to take a leaf out of the Europeans' book on how to do this. Yep. And I concur with you.
I 100% agree, and I think that there is a massive opportunity for the entire sailing fraternity here to take hold of it, and that's why I sort of suggested, why can't we have mini events? Why can't we have class 40s? Why can't we have EMOCAs? Why can't we do that? What's stopping us from doing that? And that's a long way down the track, but in terms of all of the shorthand stuff, I think it's a start, but I think it needs to be governed a little bit and sort of directed.
Well, just to take that a little further, I spoke to Alistair Murray, Vice President of Australian Sailing, the other day, and I said, I asked him, is there any, with the plans going into double-handed sailing, is there any plans around an offshore academy or some sort of headquarters of offshore racing? And he said, absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. And because
watch this space.
Watch this space. Yeah, well, I'll give you a little bit of inside tip. A university that's got plenty of money wants to put a full sailing program together, and I've sort of been dragged into it slightly. And they were sort of saying, we want to attract the best sailors at the university in Rara, and they were going to buy a whole bunch of lasers. And I said, well, yeah, great idea. Everyone else does it, and buying a bunch of lasers is not going to bring a bunch of sailors to your university. However, if you do an offshore academy, and I land back in Australia on Wednesday at midday, and I've got a meeting with him at 2 p.m. to discuss it further. So maybe that sort of stuff is going to happen. I know you'll have some stuff going on as well, BP. I know you had a few meetings as well. So
it's all about aligning together and making sure that there's not five different groups trying to take off in each direction. It's got to be, it's got to be done through the governing bodies, and that's why people joining forces with Alistair and those sort of people is really important.
So Hannah, there's a template for offshore academies in the UK. Do you work with anyone on a coaching perspective, or is it just you and Henry at this stage?
At this stage, it's just been us on our own, and I think probably one of the first things we'd look at, probably in the next 12 months, would be getting someone else involved. But I think there's so much, just particularly for me, to learn about the discipline that some of it you just need to get out there and do it yourself.
Yep.
And then when it becomes a bit more refined, then you need a little bit more input. But I think that's where the questions about the boat come in, because what are you trying to achieve at this stage? Are you trying to learn how to sail a 30-foot boat or, of any kind very quickly? Or are you trying to narrow that down a little bit more when you know what the boat is? And that's one of the big questions, and why I think probably a lot of people are just sitting back at the moment waiting to see what happens, because I know there'll be a lot more people who are planning to give it a go than are kind of showing their hands at the moment. Yeah.
Well, what skills do you have to add before? Sorry, Brycey. What skills do you have to add?
Well, I've never been really involved in like decision making, navigation side of things. Since I've been in keel boats, it's all been trimming and short-term tactics, where that's where I've been involved mostly. So looking longer term, understanding even just becoming a bit of an expert in Adrena or expedition, getting the most out of those tools. And again, that's the question, like, are we actually going to be able to use any of that, those tools, or are we just going to be have a forecast radioed to us like we do in the Figaro? It'd be pretty nice to have some of that information at some point, because you could spend 6 months trying to learn how to navigate using all the best software, and then they turn around and say that you're actually just going to have a radio forecast from a support vessel like they do in the Solitaire.
Yeah, but I guess there's two ways of looking at it, and from where you are at the moment and this far out, doing all that still adds to your repertoire as as a professional sailor. So that's one good way of looking at it. The other side of it is the mental side of things. Starting from this far out, sailing two-handed is a completely different discipline. It's something that not a lot of people can get their head around, especially down in Australia. So you're actually starting to focus on that side of it earlier and getting a head start with being out there on your own a fair bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think there's any negatives to learning any of those things. But I think as we get closer, it'll be pretty nice just to have a little bit more information about exactly what this situation is going to be. I think there's a lot of things. Having been in Venice at the L30 Europeans that were beginning of October, it just seemed like a lot of those things hadn't necessarily been considered at this point. And pretty quickly, as soon as you start to have events that mean funding for the next 12 months for people, they're going to have to make some of those decisions quite soon.
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. One I actually hadn't thought of. Like, how do you go to a sponsor to tell them how you're going to win a gold medal in the next Olympics without even knowing what boat it's going to be in? That's a pretty big... I mean, admittedly, Olympics is, of course, meant to be amateur. We're all going through it, blah, blah, blah. But it's a big ask when you can't present how you're going to win. Yeah, because you have the technical skills, you have all the other skills to do it.
Mm. One of the big questions is obviously with what boat they produce. The big blind question is, what's the crew weight? I mean, is it going to be suited for the bigger person? Is it going to be suited for the smaller person? Who knows? And that's probably one of the hardest questions that is going to be going to need to be asked fairly early on.
When Bar Karate want it, of course, we have our thoughts. It should be at least 240 kilos per boat. So, Hannah, tell us, is there a boat out there now that is going to satisfy the two-handed Olympics in Marseille? Well, what you think it would. Is there a boat sailing around right now that can do that?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely boats out there that can do it, and I don't think I would be in a position to tell you which one would be the best one in terms of giving everybody what they want, if that makes sense, because...
what about what you want?
What I want is a boat that can be reliably produced to a high standard and be new enough and innovative enough that it keeps the interest of the sailors, but also I think it is important for it to look exciting outside our small sphere of people. But a huge thing for me, and probably the key to it, is that they can be reliably produced in a way that produces fair competition.
Yeah, good point. I was just about to say level playing field is absolutely critical.
Yeah.
Well, let's go through the fleet of boats that are out there at the moment. So the L30, you just said about the Europeans, that's going to be the boat you do the World Champs in next year. So you've obviously sailed them. Sort of a narrow, boxy sort of shaped thing. What do you think about those?
We actually didn't sail that boat because we left the Europeans because our boat wasn't ready to sail. It was brand new. So I've spent a lot of time working on one, but I've never actually left the dock on one, which was an interesting experience.
Just tell us that story. So what happened there? So you got given a boat.
Yeah.
Couldn't sail it.
It was never been in the water.
You tell the story.
Not fitted out. Just everything left too last minute. So the day before the supposed import race, we decided to not take part because the boat had never left the dock, and we didn't feel comfortable taking a brand new boat out of the box offshore with no testing. So we haven't actually sailed that boat. But I think if you compare it to something like the Figaro 3, there's not really any comparison in terms of, as a sailor, what you'd want.
Okay, tell us. Which do you want?
I think so I have not raced the Figaro 3, but I've done quite a few miles on one in the Mediterranean over this last autumn. And I think if you could make that work without the foils, for example, that actually would be a great boat because they produce a lot of them. And there's a lot already out there. And it's kind of simple enough and kind of new enough that there is some longevity to them. So if you built them for 2024 or in advance, then they could perhaps do another cycle, just like the Volvo 65s did those two cycles. And we obviously did the Fastnet.
Until you put those stupid foils on them. Holy shit. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Do they work, Hannah, those foils? Do you get any benefit out of those ones? On the Figaro 3?
They probably slow you down a bit, I
Yeah,
reckon.
I was gonna say.
They definitely...
Just to really bring everyone together.
Yeah.
So they work actually from a competitive point of view.
Yeah,
I think they're quite... what's the word? It was difficult to know
Do it.
exactly what to do with them. And there wasn't necessarily...
Put them away.
You know, well, yeah, that would be nice, actually.
Wind them in. Wind the windward one out with all your sails on it for more ballast.
Yeah, look at the stacking area.
And then sit out on it.
Yeah.
Hey, come on. We're about positivity here, remember?
It's like a canoe. You know those, what are they, the international canoes where you ride the planks? Like a VJ?
Payne Mortlock.
Payne Mortlock canoe, that's it, where you...
those old things.
Yeah, you slide the plank out.
Swap them from side to side, sit out on the plank.
Yeah. Well, then there's a few others. Like you saw the Geno Sunfast 330, which is the Guillaume Verdier and Daniel Andrew, I think, is the other designer from memory.
Yeah.
So that's a cool looking little boat. And then there's the JPK 1030. Which I think is the boat that beat you in the Fastnet. Is that right? They're both fairly new.
It was, yeah. And I think all those kind of boats are real much for muchness. They're good IRC boats, and if you could create a package for them, one design, then they would all be fine. My only concern for them is that I don't think they would be that popular with world sailing because they're new boats and the budget would seem quite high. But actually, as long, those are the kind of boats that they've got the resources to make a lot of them quite quickly in quite a good way. So any of those kind of boats I think would be fine.
There has been some word around, and we're going to talk about this probably during the show, but there's been some talk around of leaving it as late as possible to sort of give everyone a level playing field. In other words, releasing a new boat X amount of time just before the before the game so that everyone starts at the same time. When you look at some of these boats that are around at the moment, especially the double-handed sailors that are already, doing lots and lots of miles, to give everyone in each nationality an even go starting from scratch together would make some sense as well.
Yeah, I'm just not sure if it would actually achieve what it's supposed to achieve, because what I can see the kind of richer nations doing is just that then it becomes a discipline where you just the goal is to be able to learn a boat very fast. So you're at a huge advantage if you have access to 8 different types of 30-foot boats that all fit the criteria. And if you've got 10 days on each of them, and you're very good at understanding the sail wardrobe very quickly, understanding the nuances of the boat very quickly. I completely agree with the sentiment that they need to make it fair for all of the nations, but I'm not convinced that is going to have the effect that they want it to have.
Good points. Very good points.
Very good. Very good.
What I reckon we should do? Well, obviously I'm not.
All right, tell us.
Go ahead, Sensei.
Just everyone sit back.
Well, we got to make the boats relatable, okay? So they're going to be around 30 foot. So what you want to do is you want to give the opportunity for the viewers to sort of identify or feel like they could be close. So, when I started noting my points down about this, I was thinking there need to be, eskies on each side where you've got loaded with beers, right?
I was going to say, it's going to see Young 88.
Young 88, yeah.
I still see the VB Express coming in here.
Yeah. Maybe a spot where you have your surfboards on the tied to the
Bimini's.
Bimini's. Yeah, you can have them on the bimini, or you can have them on the life rails, on the lifelines.
Maybe some towels hanging over the boomerang or something.
Yep. But the fact that it's actually going to be in the Mediterranean, I hadn't thought of. Maybe they actually need to have champagne. A few racks for the champagne bottles and the champagne glasses. And the women will have to do it in a summer dress. Okay, so they have to do the race in a summer dress, and the men will have to be wearing...
This is the weird stuff, Hannah. Sorry.
The men will have to be wearing the white shorts.
Guys now on behalf of barkarati.com.
We deal with this every week. It just goes off on a tangent and it's hard to stop.
Go on, Red. Tell us what else you got. Come on, Ben. Let's give us your best.
It's 4:00 in the morning in Japan. Keep going.
I'm just trying to make it relatable.
Just to sum all this up, we've got something around 30 foot with 2 eskies, towels, and the females in summer dresses, and we've got eskies on either side with surfboards. Keep going.
I mentioned the guys. They had to have the white shorts. The guys have to have white shorts, of course.
White shorts. Yeah, but that's the summer sailing. What about the red pants for winter, for the cooler days?
Oh, yeah. Okay, there you go. But
blue
the women
blue
have
and
to
white
stay
strop top.
And a big floppy hat, Hannah. Have you been working on your big floppy hat?
No, I haven't, but I will put that high on my priority list. And I'll also narrow down my selection of summer dresses to take with me.
Good. I think what needs to be thought about here, and it's happening in the AC at the moment, when they actually pop up and get on the foils and go along with the code zero, they're very much overpowered. I think we have to sort of start thinking about this with the big hats on these boats.
Yeah.
When to peel. Then that's
when to peel to the peeling hats.
That's what I mean. Getting used to the sail wardrobe, and that's going to be really, really important.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the hat could be the indicator.
Yeah. If it blows off, it's time to change.
The Chipelli. Imagine that.
Oh, yeah.
The Chipelli just turns into the national wind hat.
Oh, that's it. I'm loving it. I reckon this is more to it than the boat. I reckon we should go down this path.
Right. Well, obviously, Hannah, we're proving...
a pass. Yes? I think Jordan's about to search down another one.
Yeah, exactly. I was just going to say, all we've proved so far, Hannah, is that you're talking to 3 idiots, isn't it? Oh, dear. All right, let's get... we've sort of picked on Hannah a little bit. One of the things that we're interested in your view across a range of things. So the TJV is finishing. the Transat Jacques Vabre, and we've seen some great results. Have you been watching that at all, Hannah?
Yeah, I have been. Yeah, and the close finishes today. Probably a couple of boats finishing just about now, actually.
Yep.
So it's been really interesting to watch, and definitely interesting. Looking forward to next year and the start of the Vendée.
Yes, exactly. So all those things are pretty full bore. So we've got 3 fleets racing. The Class 50s are all in, which is the trimarans.
All of them?
I think they're all in, aren't they, BP? Or have I missed? I just assumed, actually, I'll be honest.
Just talking about the size of the fleet.
Yeah, all of them. Oh, gotcha. Yes, all 3 of them. All 3 of them are in. And then the top 5 of the IMOCA 60s as we record this are in. Let's talk about that fleet because that's obviously the front end, and the Class 40s are sort of, most of them are through the doldrums now, about 800 nautical miles to go, the leaders to the finish. Right, well, the Class 50s was pretty much follow the leader. Congratulations, Group GCA. Gilles Lemaire and Antoine Carpentier winning that one in a Verdier design. I want to mention this, we're going to blow up Verdier.
Antoine who? Sorry? Antoine Carpentier. I wonder what his parents did.
As a job.
They had a bloody good house, let me tell you.
Oh, you're always giggling, aren't you, boss? Hey, you and Hannah, the 2 of you.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
Anyway, that's in the 60s, a lot more interest, particularly around the doldrums. Do you guys see what happened there? Hannah, did you spot that at all?
Yeah, I did, and just must have been so painful on Chorel to see that lead just disintegrate and then end up behind. But I don't know. What do you do? It can be cruel sometimes.
Yeah.
West is not necessarily best.
Who'd have thought, hey?
In that particular situation.
Who'd have thought? So, for those who haven't been following, I think Chorel hit the doldrums with about 120 nautical mile lead. She was well out in front, and there was quite the fleet behind. But Epivia came through and went slightly further east through the doldrums and led Chorel by about 130 nautical miles. Well, led the fleet out because Chorel would drop back to about 6th or 7th at that stage, and then hit the trade winds and just took off. Absolutely flew down to the finish line, and also I must admit Chorel came flying through the fleet as well on the very end of it there. But yeah, some just fantastic watching, but just heartbreaking, as you said, Hannah. That would have been absolutely heartbreaking.
Yeah, and just so difficult to see that lead disappear and know that when you're that far down, your runway to catch up is not that big.
No.
And yeah, I mean, they got pretty close to catching back up to second. They're clearly faster and a great boat, but yeah, just really difficult. And that's, I guess, part of ocean racing, isn't it? Your lead's not safe until you've crossed the finish line. And just mentally, dealing with that must have been really hard on board, but I know pretty good to watch for us. Makes it a bit more exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that would have, clearly Chorel is fast, but also clearly our friends on Epivia are fast. Absolutely smoked away from the fleet in the end, winning by quite a while. But the other boat that is really, really fast that came through the field, and Bicey's itching to talk about this one, is our mates on Advents for cyber security. Bicey, let you roll.
No, just Tomer and his team who were very late to the game, and they suffered that little penalty when they had to go in to fix their autopilot. Mm-hmm. They came smoking down the fleet, and admittedly they got to choose their path through the doldrums, but they have just smoked it through, and I think they ended up with a 4th over the line.
Correct.
Yes,
so they have had an absolute glamour. So at the end of the day, Verdier's had a absolute beauty in this race. He should be on a bonus system. And
knowing Guillaume, he'd probably give it away.
I tell you what, shall we actually start running a bonus system for all the races coming up? As part of the book, I want to run.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
a bonus system that the designers can actually start winning money themselves.
I think they're pretty well compensated, the designers.
Where does the money come from, though, Bitey?
Where does money come from?
Death won't come from us.
Mate, it's a bolt on, I tell you. It's going to happen.
Are you
the organisers.
Hannah, are you familiar with this term that Bitey uses?
I don't know.
Mate, Hannah, you've sailed around the world with many a friend of mine. I'm sure you're very aware of that term.
And many worse, I'm sure.
Yeah. Should mention also PRB into second in the race. So that is a fantastic performance there.
That is actually, you would almost say that's the performance of the race right there.
Yep.
Kevin Escoffier, he's grabbed hold of this boat. He is going to be a force to be reckoned with for the Vendée, without a doubt.
Interesting, isn't it? Let's the Vendée is going to be really exciting. I mean, I have to admit, having dealt with not as much as you, Bossy, but dealt with the IMOCA world in terms of their management over the last few years, it's sort of they're really starting to get it right. Like, it is capturing everyone's attention. These boats are cool.
Which brings just a quick point, if you don't mind me just reversing the clock a little bit, just talking about going back to the Olympics. I think that the lessons learnt from the media side of things, from the Volvo, from the Mocha and all of that, is going to add another element to this Olympic class. So that's what I just wanted to talk about earlier, but didn't end up getting around to it. I think that it's going to be a really cool way for the general public to get more involved with it. That's my 2 bobs worth.
Yeah, there's going to be...
I'll tell you what, though. I'll give 3 bobs worth.
Oh, geez.
The IMOCA media side...
Not good.
...has still got a whole lot more to catch up to the Volvo side.
Yep.
Oh, agreed.
Their site was pretty shit house, just quietly.
Like how do you really think?
No, but the tracking, like, it wasn't the best thing to watch or see. And yes, you get the old blog here and there and all that sort of stuff, but it certainly wasn't in line with Volvo Ocean Race.
I think one of the most active people in the fleet is our old friend Pip Hare. She's been talking about a bunch of things on the old Bookface.
Yep. But yeah, I think in all honesty, there is going to be a conversation will happen between World Sailing and the Ocean Race about how that technology works and how to get the information off. So that'll be an advantage for you as well, Hannah, being fully aware of how it all works. So I think the Olympics are definitely going to do the full communication program, BP.
Yeah, I just think it opens the door up for a different way of viewing these events, and I think that it's going to add a lot more interest from the general public. That's sort of how I'm feeling it, especially with the offshore stuff. It's first over the line wins the race.
Speaking of offshore, one thing we forgot to mention at the Olympics, Hannah, you'll be interested. Bice, can we mention what you know or not?
Well, give me a heads up first, and I'll let you know. just whisper it through.
What exactly?
Whisper it through the airwaves.
Which manufacturer is going to be making the boats?
Oh no, Bavaria for sure, 100%. It's going to be Bavaria boats for the Olympics 2024.
There we go. You see,
and that goes back to being.
I've called it.
It's going to
timestamp it. Timestamp it. It's going to happen.
And that goes back to the relatable piece. So you'll have a hanging locker to put your summer dress in, Hannah, and your hat shelf. There will be a hat.
Oh, you wouldn't want it creased, would you?
I'm sorry I brought it back up. Get back onto the... Come on, Class 40s are waiting.
Okay, but wouldn't it be cool if they ended up actually coming out like a mini IMOCA 60, something that was a bit like...
All right. So going back to Hannah's point, though, like for affordability, mate, this is going to come in at under €160,000. 30-foot boat.
With the Bavaria?
Bavaria, yeah. It's going to happen. 100%.
Will the keel stay on?
All right. 98, 90, 96%.
96%.
Yes, I've been known to be wrong now and then, but
You'll be really happy to know, Hannah, that it's got a shower.
Yeah.
Over 48 hours, that's definitely what you need. And you've got to fill your water tanks to have at least a couple of showers each.
There you go.
Stainless steel.
It's offshore sailing.
Good water.
Showers, coffee.
All right, what about the Class 40s? Let's talk about the Class 40s because there's a lot going on there at the moment. It's
Oh, yeah.
Go on, BP. Jump in.
Yeah, look, I think I predicted it a couple of weeks ago, didn't I? Yep, with the Ian Lipinski.
Yep, you did.
My mate has got out in front and is holding a good solid lead over Fabian Delahaye and Sam Goodchild. So it's they're cranking along. They're doing some good speeds. There was an amazing story of a 24-hour record that got broken for over 400 miles in the day.
Crazy.
Not
Amazing.
bad effort.
Not bad effort at all.
On a 40-footer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember breaking 200 miles was a massive day.
Yeah.
Ugh.
400 miles in a 40-footer. Just think about that. 400 miles in a 40-footer. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts speed. So these boats are definitely enjoying a period of technology that's bringing them into their own, and looking forward to seeing how this progresses with those two big events announced over the next couple of years. There's a lot of action going on, which just adds to the double sailing or the short-handed sailing phenomenon. And we're going to start calling it a phenomenon now. That's a big word for Monday morning.
That's
a big word.
Everyone's sailing
Monday morning.
Everyone's sailing with short hands. It's crazy. Donald Trump should.
Yeah, I've got big hands, so I'm not going to get involved.
Short arms, big hands.
Me too. Donald Trump's the man. He'll be the superstar.
He's got a
of the
massive head too, by the way.
He's got a 7-foot head on a 6-foot body.
They're talking about me, Hannah. They're being very mean to me.
What class is that one? Hey, Bossy, what class is that one? Is that the big head class?
Maybe a good guy on trapeze. I tell you.
Short body class.
Big head class.
Guys, there's people listening. They want to listen to serious discussion. That's why they listen to Barkarati. Stop it, you idiots.
We've been serious for the best part of 45 minutes.
Seriousness. 28% of the time.
Oh, dear. All right.
So
Hannah,
we've got a new class we've just worked out. It's called the short body class.
the other thing I need to actually add is Hugo Boss guys. I know where this is going to go.
Brought it up, didn't you?
Hugo Boss guys are safe on the Cape Verdes. They've pulled into the Cape Verdes without a keel. They had to let go to the bottom.
Always good news.
Well, actually, our last podcast, they had not cut the keel off at that point in time.
Yep.
Correct.
And then, pop, there she goes. Just dropped to the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah.
Well, that is a cool thing.
Well,
story.
Yeah.
Just to fathom that they actually cut the keel away, and the boat in the meantime didn't lose its structural integrity. So that is in itself something pretty awesome. So
the story as well that they came back with saying that they had to make sure it didn't get to any more than 30 degrees, which makes sense, obviously, with both boards down and getting themselves back was quite an amazing feat. Luckily, the weather held in for them, I suppose.
Saved by the old cock and balls.
Saved by the cock and balls.
Sorry, you have to go episode 12 for that one.
Okay, I'll have to listen back.
Yeah. Do you want to say what you were going to say, boss, on Hugo or not?
All clear.
Good. Probably was. The mini transit, BP. Actually, Hannah, have you sailed on the minis at all?
No, I haven't. The closest I've got to them was we did a bit of training in La Trinité earlier this year, and there were hundreds of them out. It was freezing in kind of April, May time, and they were just everywhere. and because they don't have engines, coming into the dock in 25 knots and like three knots of tide in the Trinity. It was a pretty good afternoon watching when we were done for the day.
Oh yeah,
the memories. I've done quite a bit of mini sailing, Hannah. So and in La Trinité Tambien as well, I should say. That was a bit of Spanish there.
I was going to say,
just sort of slipped in. Yeah.
That's a Spanish, French,
Australian, English. Need to just put some konnichiwa in there, and we've got the full words.
Well, let's actually talk about the race because it's going on. BP, you've been watching this one closely, no doubt.
I always do. It's always fun. So the 82 left, Las Palmas in Gran Canaria, heading to La Marina in Martinique, making some cracking pace, to be honest. Just going down here. The lead boats have only got 1,000 miles to go, so they've been absolutely cranking. They reckon they're going to get across in 12 days, which is pretty well a record, I'm thinking. One really interesting point, and I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, about the speed of the series boats compared to the prototypes. Now, we know all the prototypes are canting keels, foiling, carbon fibre, very light. Some of those hulls are only 200 kilos, would you believe? But are really fast little boats.
What?
Well, I can tell you, excuse me, I can tell you that the first three series boats, which are standard GRP, stainless rigging and aluminium rigs, are in front of the fourth prototype. So they are actually not that far behind the lead boats, to give you an idea of how cool these boats are. So you can have all the fruit in the world, but still the series boats are going just as quick. So
they're pretty much sailing dead downwind. About to get it looks like it's going to get a little bit lighter. I meant to say that for the Class 40s and the TJV, they're about to head into a bit more lighter wind at the moment as well. But the Minis just charging along dead downwind. They've had a great run out of Canaries. I don't think they would have been under max. They've just been flying the whole time. Nothing but love.
It says here they've been sort of sailing in 28 to 35 knots a breeze. Now, I can tell you that's a handful on your own with a Mini, because I've actually done it, so I know how hard it is. But they're just cruising along, and it's record pace, so it's really exciting to see. So positions on the race course. In prototype, well, it's the same three at the front. There it's Francois Jambou and Alex Trahin cracking along. Francois pulled out a fair bit of a lead, to be honest, about 100 miles. So he's really proving that he's got the pace on. But a really interesting point is in third, Erwin Lamen is in boat number 800. Now, boat number 800 is a very famous boat in the mini fleet, and it is a non-foiling standard canting keel boat, but it is always been quick. Now, he's got himself up into third place.
Right.
So it just shows that the foiling boats, and the scow boats, even though they're quick, they can be beaten. So that's exciting for the guys with a lesser budget who can go sailing.
How did you go with when you're sailing these things single-handed, right? And it's blowing 30 knots and you're sailing downwind. How did you go with closing your eyes for a few minutes? Was there just too much nervousness, or you just didn't bother?
My best experience, or when I say best, my biggest experience was when I was launching my project, my Mini, and I thought, well, the only way for me to really prove this boat is to go and get on the front of a Mistral and leave Barcelona and sail back to Valencia one time. And fair enough, I got onto the front of the Mistral and it blew about 40 knots. My auto helm failed and basically just had the jib up, and I sat on about 17 knots the whole way back. And, it's good with just a jib up because you can just jibe whenever you want. So it was that was the way you think about different ways of doing things, and in those conditions where it was November, it was pitch black and horizontal rain. But sleeping wise, it's just becomes, you just push yourself to the absolute limit.
Yeah. So how do you go with that, Hannah, now that you're doing a bit of the offshore short-handed stuff? How are you going on that side of things?
Well, I think there's probably a long way for me to go. I think single-handed is very, very different from double-handed in that at least when you're double-handed, you've got someone else on deck keeping an eye out. So I think particularly in the one design fleets, when you've not only got the normal shipping traffic and obviously the land to look out for, but boats the whole fleet is going roughly the same speed. So I did take a bit of kind of relaxing into the fast net, definitely, but you do get to a stage where you're just so tired that you'll fall asleep anyway. And I think it's more working on your decision making under fatigue rather than the actual sleeping part, and making sure that you're making good decisions when you need to, rather than the actual kind of routine of sleeping or anything like that.
It's a bit like going to a pub, making good decisions when you're pissed, like you just, that's part of your training program, I'd assume. Yeah.
Actually, yeah, that could do some more work there. So it's a good place.
Well,
Hannah, here it comes.
Shall we talk?
Welcome to Bar Karate. Just on that, when we're talking about sailing solo and how hard it is actually the one time I hallucinated, would you believe it? And I'm sailing along in this particular day.
I think your whole life is a hallucination, BP.
So then was it reality?
Yeah, maybe. Go on, tell us.
I was sailing along, and I had I was probably 17 hours in. I was smoking my coffee and eating the cigarettes, and I had a hallucination. There was a Native American Indian on the deck with me, sitting there watching me and looking after me. So that's the funniest part about sailing. When you get to that point where you're just so tired and you're just hallucinating. And I was saying, and I remember talking to myself. I was saying, "It's all right. We're going to get there. We're going to get there." It was all pretty hairy.
Yeah.
But God knows.
It is crazy.
Why do you ask? Hairy headrest?
Yeah. Hey, can we get back to the results of the positions of the series? Yeah. Come on.
Yeah. What do you want to talk about? Say that again. What do you want to get to?
The series, we've only talked about the prototypes. So the series, as I said, are cranking along. And as with the first leg, Ambrogio Beccaria is leading the fleet and having a cranking race. Nicholas Estes, 72 miles behind. Benjamin Ferrer, 1 mile behind him. So it's halfway home.
Well, how many boats did you say it was, BP? It's like 82 left at the moment, isn't it?
82 left in the race. So, unfortunately, my prediction of that was rang true for the first leg is not going to ring true for this one. The girls are back out racing, but they're just making up time.
Well, they had to turn around. So, and going back to Hannah's point, there's so many of them. It's like a fleet of mosquitoes, as I think we've said at the past. Right through the middle of that fleet last night or yesterday, depending on where you are. So let's call it Sunday in the world. 4 old team maxi trimarans would have gone charging straight through the middle. I wonder how many close calls there were there, because they literally would have crossed over last night.
Yeah, I mean, minis are pretty small, and there has been some incidences in the past where, and one of the incidents happened quite a few years ago with a young Australian sailor who just decided to smash into a ship. I don't think the ship hit him because the ship didn't know. The ship just kept going. With these old teams coming through at a fair old pace, there probably would have been some, if they were in the same area. But minis are small boats. You can't see them when you're out there.
Oh, I've just got this visual. Go on, boss.
No, the AIS though. Surely the minis have that set up now, right?
Yes, they do. But it's one of those things. You're on your own. You're sailing along. You've set it up, and you hope that it's all working. What a lot of people have to sort of take into consideration is that these boats are powered either by solar panel, or if you've got a bit of a budget, you'll have a power unit on the boat, which is basically a sort of a battery charger. Yeah, you could be riding a bike.
Unit. Yeah, exactly.
Power unit.
It's not a solar panel on your head. It's just red hair. Just absorbs the energy.
Fire up and
plugs the hair into the power, and off he goes.
Go on.
I'm just saying that the power situation can be very frustrating, and sometimes those sort of things just get sort of have to get left to the wayside. You just got to keep your eye open.
Well, I think more of a concern is the fact that these 100-foot trimarans coming through at 30 knots, they wouldn't even notice you. It'd be like a little marshmallow on the end of a prong. They're just going to pick you up. That's the visual image I've got. I would be interested if they did have any close calls. It would have been some funny vision.
Yeah, it's like same with a tanker. If a tanker's coming through at 30 knots, they don't see you.
Yeah.
And this incident happened a few years back. The name of the guy forgets me. I forget. Scotty Kavanagh. That's him.
Yeah.
That was the 2011, and ripped the front of the boat off. He was in all sorts of bother, but the ship didn't stop because it didn't see it and or feel it. So that just shows that there's lots to think about.
Right. Well, in the Brest Atlantique, the fleet has just sort of the boat that's in fourth, which is called Actual Leader, which is a great name. If you're going to come last, call your boat Actual Leader. The boat that's in fourth is still down on speed, so she's just popping out of the doldrums as we speak. But the front three, so Maxi Edmund de Rothschild, so Gitana, I guess, is probably what she's got on her sails from memory. Another Verdier design, she's smoking away. Massif in second, Sadibo. What do we think about Sadibo? I thought this thing was going to take
I'm disappointed.
Yeah, me too.
I am really disappointed. I thought Tom was going to go out there and just smash them all up. Yeah. And we're seeing Charles and Franck just leading the way.
Charles. Geez, he's got a good record at the moment, hasn't he?
What? Verdier?
No, Verdier's on fire. He's on fire, but Couturier, he's on fire as well.
Verdier's leading the bonus system.
Yeah.
So, Hannah, what you should do is for the Olympics, get a Verdier design. I don't know what everyone else is doing.
So does that mean the Kiwis are going to win the America's Cup? Have we made that decision now because they've got a Verdier design?
Pretty much.
There you go.
Oh,
yeah.
Big call. Big call. Yeah. Don't stop.
Gee.
Yeah.
I tell you what.
Actually, what do you think, Hannah?
How much is Guillaume
We
Parnas?
don't have this in the run sheet, but what you've seen from the Cup, what's your call?
Oh, I don't know. That's a really tough one.
Come on.
I do want to back the Brits, but
why?
The Kiwis would be hard to beat on home water. Enough.
Yeah, Kiwis are going to be hard to beat. You've definitely got a different looking toy there, but I'm not going to criticise it because I do quite like Nick Holroyd, the lead designer.
But you must say that thing looks good flying.
Does.
I put a note up on the website the other day. I said it looks better sailing, and then someone came back and said, "No, it doesn't." And I went, "Okay, well then there you go. That's your point."
That's it.
Yeah.
There was actually a video put up on barkarati.com yesterday. It had the two videos of Team New Zealand and one of Ineos, and Ineos actually did a tack, so forward full tack, but we haven't seen any of that from Team New Zealand at this stage.
What are they doing? What do you call a granny knot but going upwind?
A what?
Remember what a granny knot, like, so coming into the wing mark, instead of jibing your tack.
Granny tack.
So, no, but going upwind, so you stay on the foils, which Rowan Veal did back in the day with the Moss. Instead of tacking, you actually jibe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right. So you tie yourself backwards. Yeah, right. I got you.
Yep. We don't know. Anyway, we diverge. Carry on, host. Carry on.
It's like working with geniuses. It truly is. Herding cats.
But all ideas, no direction.
That's it.
Pissing in the snow.
Hannah, let's get serious. The World Champs Middle Sea race next year in the L30s. That's on the program, obviously, I'm assuming. What's the thoughts with that?
Yeah. I mean, we still need a lot more kind of information about it. It's not as much as you'd expect, kind of less than 12 months away from the event. But I guess by that point, there'll be a lot more people kind of showing that they're interested, and that should kind of kickstart the class, hopefully, into the real swing of Olympic campaigning. Yep.
What's the actual who actually instigates the L30 double-handed World Championships?
World Sailing.
Is it World Sailing?
Yeah, it's World Sailing.
as in, but so they put the L30 in.
Yep.
Does that mean it's
nothing.
in or out, or automatically? What's our inside gossip?
No inside gossip on that, mate. It's just World Sailing have picked that one. I don't know. I don't know anything more than that, unless you guys do.
No.
Oh, bugger if I know.
Bugger if you know.
Hannah?
No, nothing my end.
Okay.
I think that's kind of the theme of where it's all at the moment. Just there needs to be a bit of clarification of a lot of things, and it would just be really nice to be able to get going knowing that it's all in order and all actually going to happen in the way that it needs to get the class going.
Yeah. Well, if I was in your shoes, it'd be something I'd want to shine at, I guess. So I'm guessing we're going to see you in Malta next year.
Yeah, I hope so, and I think that would probably be the first opportunity to qualify for funding for the start of the cycle. So that would definitely be a key event for next year.
Cool.
I have a question for you, Hannah, just quickly before we move on to the next bit. Is there many other people that you know of, particularly in the UK, that are also lining up for this? Is there a group of people around that you're sort of associating with that are talking about doing this as well?
I think there's a lot of people talking about it. I don't think there's so many people who are putting anything into action just yet, mostly for the reason that there's just so little information about what the event is actually going to be like. There's been some suggestions of courses for the Olympics, but that's still a long way off, and there's so many kind of hurdles to get through before we get there. I think people are having conversations in order to try and find out as much as they can, but as soon as you jump in and put your name out there, we've kind of found that you are putting yourself out there for, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I guess people want to talk
Don't
about
worry,
it.
Jordan will take over if you want.
But without, as soon as you start, you can't really stop. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, you're saying it's a little bit unknown, and people are putting their hands up saying, "Yeah, I'd like to do that," but really they're not really, not as far down the path as you guys. But you're not really going to know for another year or so. Yeah.
No, exactly.
Cool. All right, guys, we're chewing up a lot of time. Obviously, we muck around like idiots, so I hope people like this episode. Cabbage Tree Island Race, Carnage. Carnage. BP, you go on.
Well, it's the build-up to the Hobart. This time of year is always exciting. The club is filling up with professional sailors and other people. It's
filling up the professional sailors, or they're just all going home to go to bed?
They come in and they come in and have a couple of bit of a bar karate session.
Blues. Yeah.
Yeah, but I can tell you there was some serious sessions the other day. This Cabbage Tree Island Race, just so you know, started at 8 o'clock on Friday night. There was word of cancelling it on the dock at 4 o'clock. They made the decision to go. There was a gale warning forecasted. There was 35 to 40 knot gusts coming through the harbour from the south and or sort of southwesterly, which is even worse. I don't know if people know Sydney. Whenever there's a westerly involved, it's really not. It's not that much fun. So they all took off, and there was carnage right from the outset, and No Limit was fanging down the harbour and went to get rid of the chute. I'm sort of told that the halyard lock decided that it wasn't coming off, and they just thought, well, the best thing for us to do is park it. So they did, just on the beach. So
wow.
Yep. Yeah. They just decided, well, they couldn't get the thing down, and they had nowhere to go. And so
park it where though?
It was on one of the it was on one of the beaches on the other side, and just basically slowed it right down and just butted it on the sand somewhere. And there's a photo of it just sitting there, and they managed to get everything down. But yeah, that was one of the stories. They got it off the bottom, and it didn't tip over or anything. They just it just sort of sat there. It was really quite an unusual sort of story. And then they were out training the next day. They obviously pulled out of the race, but seems to be fine. Now that's one of the stories. The other story, obviously, it was about time. We're unfortunate enough to have an incident where a person went over the side. They got him back, which was good. But it just goes to show how much was on out there. There's a good video of CYC of of it all happening. So that was all, quite windy. But the big story, and you've all heard about it, is wild oats. So I can talk to you a bit about that and go through it if you want.
Have you heard about it, Hannah?
I saw a little bit about it, but no, nothing in detail. Well, their rig looking a bit sorry.
It's their new technology, the collapsible boat.
Technical term.
It's called eradicating weathered surface area. No, look, it's pretty serious. This time of year, the boats go out there and thrash it out in whatever weather that is happening, because it's obviously the build up to the Hobart. And in this case, the Cabbage Tree proved to be stronger than some of the boats were. So, not 100% sure of the actual issue. The deck seems to have exploded, and therefore allowing the mast to go where it wanted to go to. And they were so lucky they did not lose it over the side. The story goes that they had to sail the boat in canted at 30 degrees to keep the windward side shrouds tight so that it didn't fall over.
BP, give me your expert opinion here. But if there is no deck, that shouldn't matter to the mast compression, though.
I think what happened is...
Unless the chain plates move.
Didn't the ring frame snap? They compressed the ring frame, so then the boat was...
Something like... Yeah, then basically the boat, whether or not the mast fell into the boat further or actually moved from side to side at the heel.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was on the mast frame, wasn't it? That was just pushing it down. Yeah.
So at the deck, we saw that frame fracture at the deck, right?
Yeah.
But what does that mean? Does that bring the chain plates closer to the rig or further up?
I think the whole thing's
spreaders, or
I don't actually know exactly.
When I saw that picture, to me it meant nothing. It was not nothing, but where's the actual? Because it's much more than a deck fracture.
Yeah, I thought that when it happened,
lose rig pressure.
Yeah. I thought when it happened, it actually exploded the bottom part of the mast, and the mast fell down, a bit. But it seems that that's all okay, because the word was pretty low key at the club yesterday. Saturday. They were saying, "Oh no, we'll be right. We'll get into it Monday. We'll be right. We'll be there." So big story. Wild Oats, major damage, and is now battling to make the start line for the Hobart. There was other issues. Infotrack had some issues, ended up retiring. Zen, the TP52, came back in. So there was a bunch of boats retired. But on a positive note, the winners, Guelo, the TP52, were smoking with some good friends on board. So well done to those guys, and got in and took the overall win on handicap and on all those divisions. So, that's really the news.
And Blackjack first over the line with their new bum.
And Blackjack, yes. We're all very happy on Blackjack at the moment. Obviously, you don't want to be putting, negatives on any of your competitors, but they're sitting pretty right now. You've got to say they've got a boat that handled those conditions. Obviously just out of the shed with the new bow and all that jazz. But they were quick, very quick off the start line against Wild Oats.
All right. We're pretty much, we've killed all our time, to tell the honest truth. The one thing I do want to quickly mention is we've come up with an idea for a segment, the Barkarati Agony Aunt, the old traditional thing where you write in to complain. Hannah, you remember these old columns where people would write in and ask questions from their agony aunt, like, how do I fix my relationship? You remember that sort of stuff?
Yep.
So the idea is the Barkarati Agony Aunt. If you're having any crewing problems, just send us a note.
Is this like Dolly Doctor?
Yeah, exactly. Send us a note and we'll resolve it for you. We're here to help.
Yes. Dear Agony Aunt.
Yep.
I'll
be prepared. There'll be two men with red hair answering this.
Any secret pro news?
There was only a little minor one that came through. That Alex Thompson Racing will be suing King Neptune for taking his keel out.
Oh, it's funny on so many levels. There'll be a few people around the world just killing themselves laughing on that one. Oh, dear.
Got him, yes.
You got him, yes. All right. We've pretty much chewed up our time. So we'll quickly go into contacting us. Get onto us via Instagram or Facebook or on the Barkarati website, barkarati.com. If you do go on there.
No, don't forget to share. Everyone share.
Yeah.
And also give us the old 5 stars.
You sound like a kindergarten
always
teacher.
helps.
You sound like a kindergarten
Always helps.
teacher. Everyone share.
Yeah, you're right, actually. 5 stars, it helps us go up the ranks. And when someone searches Sailing Podcast, they get Barkarati.
Yep. Yeah, she's going good. Have you enjoyed yourself, Hannah? Have you enjoyed it at all?
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm glad. We appreciate you coming on. We're not quite finished, but we're happy that you've enjoyed it. We run off with a little bit of a quiz question each week. Hannah, which company is the world's biggest producer of tyres?
You sent me the answer, so I don't know if I'm supposed to make one up.
No, just pretend you know.
Pretend you know. Yeah, pretend you know. That's it. So what is the answer, Hannah? I've sent you the answer. What is the answer? Tell the world.
Lego.
Woo! Lego.
Yes.
Yes. Tell us why.
The toy company produces approximately 306 million tyres per year, far more than any other manufacturer in the world. They may be tiny toy tyres, but the fact still stands.
Do you like that?
Fantastic.
There you go. Yes.
Tiny toy tyres.
Tiny toy tyres. Dear, what else should we mention? Oh, we'll just roll on because I'm in Japan. The quiz question this week, everyone, is if you were to visit every island in Japan at a rate of 1 per day, how long would it take you to visit all the islands in Japan? Hannah, do not answer because I know you have the answer there. How long do you reckon it would take to visit all the islands in Japan? Answer me this, Hannah. Are you surprised at the time?
Very surprised,
Yes. Yes. It's crazy, isn't it?
I don't think anyone would guess.
Okay, well, that's the question for people. Punters, if you're out there. Hannah, we're glad that you've had a good time. We've had a great time having you. It has been an amazing show. We are absolutely behind you 100%. Barkarati cheering you home. So best of luck with your Olympic campaign and keep smiling.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
All right.
Good on you, Hannah. Good luck.
All right.
Thanks, Hannah.
Gentlemen, we're out. Have a great day, everyone. See you next week.
Bye.